Thank you for that kind introduction. My adopted mom, Merle, my second mom is with me today. But that introduction does remind me of something a US president once said, which is when he was introduced particularly kindly, he said, "I wish my parents had been here to hear that. My father would have appreciated it, and my mother would have believed it." It is really an honor for me to be here in this room filled with unbelievable women. We have 3 ambassadors. We have members of parliament. We have the women who founded this organization, Flo and Vicky, and have served as I think every president. We have women who are just starting out and women running industries, and it's an honor and exciting for me to be with you. We also have a few brave men. Gloria Steinem, very famous American feminist, says that if you're a man and you come to just one event like this, when the inevitable revolution comes, you get a lifetime pass. This was an incredibly good use of an hour. I'm really happy to be back in India. I started my career working here. I worked here between 1991 and 1993 at the World Bank on leprosy. And so many of my views on women come from that experience. Because what I learned, both in the halls of the Indian government, but also in the villages where leprosy was endemic, I learned that if you want to reach children, if you want to make people healthier, if you want to make people happier, you do that through women. Through mothers, and through daughters, and through wives. And fast forward 23 years, to the great credit of the people, the women and men of India, leprosy is no longer a public health problem. And this economy has thrived. I came back in India when I was at Google many years ago to open Google's Hyderabad office. And I've now had the opportunity to open Facebook's offices here as well, all of which show how vibrant India is, how important India is to the global economy, and therefore how important all of you are to the world in which we live. So I wrote Lean In, and this is going to be a big shock, because it turns out the world is still run by men. And I kind of think we can do better. If you look, one of the reasons I wrote Lean In is because my daughter, when she was 4, I played a song for her of all the American presidents, and she listened and she looked up and her first question was, "Mommy, why are they all boys?" You have had a female prime minister, you have had a female president, but today 18 countries have a head of state who's a woman out of hundreds of countries. To the point in the introduction, India has 11% of its top CEOs as women. The United States only has 4. None of those numbers come close to the representation we have in the world, which is 50%. In every country in the world, yours as well as mine, women are paid less than men for the same jobs. 23% in the United States, 28% across India, up to 40% in the rural areas. This is a problem all over the world. One thing that I've learned through the Lean In experience is that our cultures are so different everywhere in the world, right? From India to China to Europe to different parts of the United States, except on gender. Where actually our cultures are remarkably similar. I first learned this when the Indian version of Lean In was published. Nana Lal Kidwa, who's the HSBC director for Asia Pacific, she wrote the first international forward for my book for the Indian version. And this is what she wrote. She wrote, "There is so much in this book that is similar across every culture." Everywhere in the world, we expect men to be leaders, results-focused, decision makers. Everywhere in the world, we expect women to give, to be communal, to help others. And I think we're too accepting of the differences between us. I think in many ways we suffer from the tyranny of low expectations. In my country, in the last Senate race, so the upper house of parliament, women won 20% of the seats. And all the headlines kept screaming out, women take over the Senate, women take over the Senate. And I just wanted to scream back at everyone, excuse me, 50% of the population getting 20% of the seats, that's not a takeover. That's a problem. This is an important conversation happening all over the world because we don't have enough female leaders. At the decisions tables where decisions are made, from the local village here to your parliament, from the local town in my country to our parliament, there aren't enough women at those tables. And that's hurting all of us. To your point, we're not achieving our economic potential because achieving economic growth depends on using the full talents of the population. We are not achieving our human potential because achieving our human potential depends upon the stability and the security of every woman in every situation who needs to be able to go anywhere safely, who needs to be able to arrive safely, because when we take care of our women and girls, we take care of our society. And it's hurting our families, because when fathers are fully engaged, when they are partners to their wives, when they are partners in parenting to their children have better outcomes. This conversation is happening all over the world, and today I'm going to focus on 3 things that we can do together. 3 things that this amazing audience of women can do as we work together to achieve equality. Equality. Not 20%, not 18 heads of state, not 11% of the CEO jobs, but 50% of every single one of those seats. The first thing is we can address stereotypes that hold women back. Decades of social science tells us what we already know, which is that stereotypes are enormously self-reinforcing. We expect people to act a certain way, and when they don't, we dislike them, and so they become self-reinforcing. Everywhere in the world, women compared to men have their abilities underestimated. If a man and a woman, a boy and a girl, perform at the same level, everyone, including those individuals, remembers the male performance a little bit high and the women's performance a little bit low. This starts with mothers estimating infants crawling. Mothers systematically overestimate their sons crawling and systematically underestimate their daughters. Even more importantly, success is ascribed to different things from males and females. When a male succeeds, he and everyone else around him thinks it's because of his skills, and that's a good thing. When a woman succeeds, everyone around her and she thinks it's because she worked hard, got lucky, and had help from other people. As a result, women have less self-confidence. I go to meetings all over the world and I see the same thing in my country and yours everywhere. Relative to level of position, more men than women sit at the front. The center, more women sit at the back. More men than women talk more, make more points, regardless of level in a meeting. This is not just about other people having low self-confidence. This is about me. After I wrote the book, so I spent an entire year researching and writing a book which is all about telling women to have more self-confidence. Then there was a meeting at Facebook. And the meeting at Facebook was to kick off a project that one of our senior technical leaders, Jay Parikh, and I, for years we had wanted to do this project, but no one agreed with us. So finally, Mark and the team decided they agree, and we were going to kick off the project. So I talk in my book about bringing your whole self to work, so I'm pretty emotional. I'm at the meeting, I say, I am so glad to be here. Because for so many years, no one agreed, I thought maybe I was wrong. Jay looks up. I knew Sheryl and I were right, and you'd all come around eventually. Really? Really? Years of no one agreeing didn't shake his confidence at all. So later that night, I'm about to go on my book tour. I'm Facebook messaging with Jay, and I say, Jay, can I use that story on my book tour? Sure. Jay, can I use your name in that story on my book tour? Absolutely. He's the sweetest guy. I said, don't worry, Jay. I'm not going to make you look egotistical. I'm not worried about that. All over the world, we encourage little girls to lead, little boys to lead, and all over the world, we criticize little girls. At my wedding, my brother and sister stood up, and they said, hi, we're Sheryl's younger brother and sister. But we're not really her younger brother and sister. We're really her first employees. Employee 1 and employee 2. Because Sheryl never really played as a child. She just organized other children's play. And that's funny, but not really. Go to a playground this weekend, watch a little girl lead, and watch her get called bossy. As we don't use that word for boys, because when a boy leads, it's expected. That's leadership. When a girl leads, it's bossy. For the men in the room, only men, please. Please raise your hand if anyone's ever told you you're too aggressive at work. Men only, men only. Men only, men only, men only. Very important. This is what happens all over the world. Women, raise your hand if anyone's ever told you you're too aggressive at work. We know men are more aggressive than women. Every gender-blind study told us, but this is what we expect, and this is why women don't lead. We don't expect women to lead. They don't lead. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. We can change this today. There's a man who works for me at Facebook. He started this conversation, I'm not joking, by saying, I didn't read your book, but really? You work directly for me and you're not even going to pretend to read my book? But let's leave that aside. I'm a really nice person and he still works there, just so you know. But he said, but I have listened to all the things you said over the years, and I just got feedback in our performance cycle about a woman who works for me, and I was told she was too aggressive. So rather than write too aggressive in her performance review, I went back to the people that asked her, and I said, can I ask you a question? What did she do that was too aggressive, specifically? And they answered, and then he said, if a man had done exactly those same things, what would you have thought? Would you have thought he was too aggressive? And to a person, they said no. This weekend, when you're on that playground, and you see a little girl called Bossy, often by her own parents, you walk right up to them, you have a big smile on your face, and you say, that little girl's not bossy. That little girl has executive leadership skills. Second thing of 3 we can do. We need to ensure equal and fair treatment for women. India has a long and proud history of social movements devoted to human dignity and social reform. 2 centuries ago, Raja Ram Mohan Roy championed women's rights in a time and a way that very, very few people did, so this runs deeply in this culture. The stability and the security of women and girls is a critical driver for every country in the world. In every country in the world, women and girls are not as safe as boys and men. And that's something we all know how deeply it has to change, because you cannot have a just society without that. Change is hard. If the women in this room were setting the culture for India and the world, this would not be a problem. That is why I believe so deeply that we need more women in leadership. I'm concerned when I'm here. I'm concerned when I'm everywhere, because this is such a critical issue. But I'm also hopeful. And I'm hopeful because just this month, your president and your prime minister made statements in front of Parliament in a new government talking about how there is going to be zero tolerance for violence and security is going to be a top priority. I hope every voter in this country holds them to it. I hope every person in every country holds their leaders to that. Women and men across India and across the world are calling for reform and action on transit, on streets, on homes, in the places of work, in the halls of justice. This lifts and honors all of us, and it's the foundation for a prosperous, just, and innovative society. Some of this, and I'm proud of this, is happening on Facebook. Blank Noise, a 15-year-old girl, did a petition to her PM to stop atrocities versus women. Delhi for Women's Safety has a great slogan. They said the word no has 2 letters and 1 meaning. Applause for them. No country reaches its potential till all women reach their potential. And it's so deeply in your history. Gandhi, nonviolence is the law of our being, and the future is with women. Something we need to make sure our justice systems understand all over the world. Third, we have to achieve more balance in our homes. We will not achieve our potential in the workplace until we achieve balance in our homes. My friend Peggy had a friend of hers, a 5-year-old daughter, and the daughter came to her and said, "Mommy, I have a problem." And she said, "What's the problem?" And she said, "Well, I want to be an astronaut." Great. That was before our NASA canceled that program, so that wasn't the problem. She said, "But the little boy I like, he wants to be an astronaut too." Mother said, "Great." She said, "No, we can't both go into space. Who's going to watch our children?" I think it will have to be me. That little girl's right. In any country in the world, she is going to be the one at home doing the majority of the work, even if she works full-time, and most women have to work full-time to make ends meet everywhere in the world. That means most women have 2 jobs while men have 1. In the United States to this day, if a man and a woman work full-time and they are a couple, she does 30 to 40% more. The estimates in India and other parts of the world are up to 10 times. Women are doing 10 times more than their husbands are in their homes. There are really important reasons for men to do more, and it's not just to feel good about themselves, it's for different outcomes. Turns out that when husbands are more active, helping their wife with housework, helping with parenting, those marriages are happier. I tell men all over the world, so for the men here today, this is a very important tip. If you want to be nice to your wife, don't buy flowers, do laundry. Cook a meal, change some diapers. You can do this. And it will do more for your wife than any flowers you could possibly buy her. And for your children, we know that at any income level, no matter how active a mother is, children with more involved fathers are better off emotionally, do better in school, do better professionally. So there's a really good reason to do this. I know that I am an American woman standing on a stage in India talking about this kind of cultural change, and I know how kind of crazy and implausible it seems. But I believe this can and will change everywhere in the world, and I believe that partially based on my own experience. My grandmother didn't drive. Her friends all drove. My grandfather didn't think women should drive, and so my grandmother never drove. My mother, when I was growing up, my father worked outside the home, my mother worked in the home. My mother had hot dinner on the table every night at 5 when he came home. That was the home I grew up in. Fast forward now, my father is on the kids playing with his grandchildren just like my mother is. He's changed as many of those diapers as she has. One generation with a father who thought his wife shouldn't drive. In the United States, where all the women drive. This can change. And it can change because it's better for all of us. I believe we can do this. I believe that the time is right. My friend Marnie and I spent the weekend a couple hours outside of Udaipur. And one of the things we went to was a circle of women. A circle. 13 women who, through a financial literacy program, have gotten together and gotten access to savings and banking, convinced their husbands that they could save and do it in a collective group, saved 20,000 rupees, bought 4 goats. The 4 goats have had children, kids, I learned. Those goats are producing milk for all of those children. They're healthier than they've ever been, and they're producing income. One of the women brought her 3 daughters and told us proudly that because of those goats and the savings, all 3 of her daughters are in school, 2 in secondary school. And a year and a half before, she had to pull one out because she couldn't afford the fees. I believe so deeply in the power of women in circles. Along with the book, started a foundation, leanin.org. What we do is help start circles all over the world. Our goal was to have 1,000 in a year. There are almost 18,000 in 72 countries. That's because women and men coming together changes things. We change this one person at a time, one family at a time, one job at a time. Yesterday in Gurgaon, I met with 2 lean-in circles here, both of which had men in them, which was awesome. And those women told me very similar things to the women sitting on the ground outside of Udaipur, which is that working together, they felt more confidence, they were earning more income, and they were changing their lives. Women are leading. I am so proud that Facebook's India operations are led by 2 unbelievable women. Please stand up. Kirthika runs our sales operations. Anki runs our government relations. Everything we do, Facebook India, is led by these 2 amazing women. You spoke about Preeti. I have known her for years and years. When I went from Google to Facebook, I begged her to come. She came to Facebook. She's stayed through 2 pregnancies. She just changed jobs. She's now on our corporate M&A team, a field that has very few women in the United States and everywhere. And then I come here, and I see her cousin and her aunt leading this organization. How amazing is that? Congratulations to you guys. This is about achieving our full potential. I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. I want them to have more opportunities. I want my daughter to be able to succeed professionally and be liked for it, not disliked. I want her to be told she's results-oriented, not bossy or aggressive. And I want my son to be applauded and encouraged to give as much in his home as his future wife does. So I'm going to ask everyone here today, and I'm really going to ask you to take a minute. How are you going to lean in? For the women, one thing, because I have them too, I wrote this book for myself as well, every single one of us has one more thing that we weren't quite reaching for because we're not quite sure we can do it. What is the one thing you are going to lean in and do? And for the men here, other than getting your pass for the revolution, which is terrific, what one thing are you going to do to encourage a woman in your office to do more in your home? What will you do? Let's just take a minute. Me too, because I know I can always do better. 1 minute, one thing. Everyone think about it. At Facebook, we have posters all over the walls. They say, fortune favors the bold. Done is better than perfect. My favorite says, what would you do if you weren't afraid? What would you do if you weren't afraid? What would every single one of us do to use our voice for people who don't have it, to protect women and make sure they're safe all over the world and not rest until that happens, to make sure that women get the seats at the table where they will lead to more economic prosperity, more peace, and more opportunity.